Hello everyone, welcome back to Baking with Paul. Today we're going to be making roasted red pepper and tomato soup. And today we don't need to preheat the oven because we're going to be working with the hob. Let's get cracking.
Welcome back to Baking with Paul. It's me, Jack.
And it's me, Paul.
And this week, Paul's making lovely roasted red pepper and tomato soup. A quick correction there. We will be using the oven to roast the red peppers and tomatoes.
We definitely need the oven. And you do want to preheat it to 180.
There we go, guys. So as usual, Paul's getting his lovely trusty tea towel there.
Yeah, because I'm going to start off chopping all the stuff first.
So we're securing our chopping board to the table, stopping it from slipping around. Perfect. Got our recipe, we've got a tray.
Yep, because you're going to need the tray to hand because you're going to start off with the peppers. So I've got a quick trick to doing peppers, as you'll see in a minute, is I like to push in the top of it, just pop it in and then cut around it, because then you can take the whole seeds out. I know there's many different methods to do this, but either way you want to do it, it just works better because you can just put the whole half on your baking tray.
There you go. So for this method, it's perfect.
Yeah. So you don't want any seeds in there.
If you're not confident with a knife or chopping things, then ask someone to help you out.
Absolutely. So you're going to repeat this process with 3 peppers.
Making sure you tap all the seeds out, because the seeds are going to make things bitter, they're going to burn easily.
Yeah, you don't want any seeds in there. And I'm placing them upside down like that so they don't burn. It just works better this way up.
Helps to roast the skin and stop the insides from drying out.
Absolutely. So you end up with nice, moist red peppers. Half a red pepper.
And if you want to remove as much of the white pith as possible as well, that's also not that tasty. Don't worry yourself about it removing it too much, but it's ideal if you can remove some of it.
Just do as best as you can. As clean a pepper as you can.
As you can see, when Paul pinches it, it pulls away quite easily, so it's quite easy to remove.
Just a little bit fiddly sometimes. And then we quickly move on to our tomatoes. So you just want to remove the stalk. That's all you want to do, and then cut it in half. I go for this way because I like it does better. I think I requested another tray because I didn't think I'd have enough room.
I don't think you request that just yet, but yeah, you are going to get another tray from my magical hand leaning into camera.
I think that's it. I think I just used them 2 trays.
Oh, is that the the extra tray?
That's the extra tray. That was just to stick the tomatoes in.
See, I'm such a helpful camera guy.
See, Jack's the person in the background just helping out, pass me stuff when I run out.
I'm waiting in the wings.
You are. I request, you give me the answer. There we go. I don't think you used all the tomatoes, or did I?
I think you left a couple out, if I remember correctly. That's a point as well we should mention. We've obviously set our videos up so that Paul is on screen and you hear Paul and I talking together. If there's anyone you'd like to see on camera with Paul, perhaps me, perhaps someone else as a guest, you let us know. And you're saying that's enough vegetables?
Yeah.
And now we're going to drizzle them with a lovely bit of olive oil.
So you just want to drizzle a little bit of oil over the top.
You could use vegetable.
Could use vegetable.
Sunflower, whatever.
Yeah.
But we like olive oil because it adds a little bit of a flavour to it.
I think it adds a nice flavour. And in the recipe, you add your olive oil.
In the recipe, what were you going to say?
The recipe that I was following says to roast your onions and garlic with it, but I find it tends to burn the garlic, so I do it a different way. I just roast the tomatoes and red peppers. So you also want to season every time you're doing something. Every stage you want to season. So I season the red peppers and tomatoes.
So whenever you're adding a new ingredient,
yes, basically,
you want to season that ingredient. So because these tomatoes and peppers won't be seasoned yet, we're going to season them.
And obviously don't go too heavy with the salt and pepper because you don't want them to be too salty. Because you're going to add that later.
You can always add, you can never take away with salt.
Exactly. I don't think I was a massive fan of this pepper grinder, to be honest.
You did complain about it previously.
It was a bit useless.
That's okay.
But anyway, I got a bit of salt and pepper on there, and now they're ready to go in the oven. So again, just preheat your oven to 180 because you want to slow roast them.
Before they go in the oven, I think you finish preparing all of the veg, which you could do yourselves when you're following along.
Yeah.
Prepare all your veg, get everything chopped up and ready.
I mean, it makes your life a lot easier the more prepared you are, the easier it becomes.
And there you go, you've just seen me assisting again with a rubbish bowl. Paul's favourite thing to have in the kitchen. Everything has a place.
You know I love having a rubbish bowl.
Instead of dipping your hands in and out of the bin,
So,
which would be clean, your hands would be clean, not the bin.
yeah.
You can have a little bowl, put all your rubbish in it, and then at the end of the cooking process, you can get rid of it all.
I pre-peeled my garlic just to speed up time.
Yeah, so we're chopping the garlic, onions, and celery. At this
Yeah.
time.
So again, I just take the top off, half them, and then you can just peel the skin off. And
So you're just
dispose.
taking away the root,
Yeah.
but you're leaving the onion as well.
And some people say this can help you to stop crying. There's many different theories on this one.
Oh, I mean, so
You know,
scientifically,
goggles.
it's to do with the way you cut the onion.
Yeah, because you're leaving the root on.
Well, because the onion cells are in a certain direction, and
Yeah.
if you cut vertically like you've just done there when you cut it in half, you go along the cells, and if you cut horizontally, you break more cells and release more of the acid that causes you to cry.
Well, there you go. A little bit of science for you.
There you go. Speaking of science clubs are happening on Mondays with Saf.
There we go.
Be sure to check those out.
Happy days. So I think I just put
So
them.
actually, you remove the root end on one of them and the top end on the other.
I just like to live my life the way it is. Yeah, I mix it up a little bit. I don't
So
like
you're not
conforming
too-
to rules.
You're not too worried about that.
No. As long I just like it in that shape because it makes it easier to slice.
But you're using one of the ends left on to hold it together while you cut it. Right?
Yeah, it just makes it easier to go along. So you can just discard that. Get it as close as you can to the end of the root. Or
I think most
the
people
top.
would say cut the top off
Yeah.
because the root is much more solid and stable, so it holds the onion together.
Yeah. But I just find it's the easiest way to slice onions for me.
Yeah. If you want to slice them differently, they're going to get blended up at the end anyway. So the main thing is that all your vegetables that you're cutting now, your onions and celery, are roughly the same
Yeah.
size and thickness.
Just so they cook evenly.
so they cook nice and evenly.
I mean, ultimately, yes, you're just going to blend it. So it doesn't matter if it's chunky. If you want to go chunky, you go chunky.
Or if you decide you're not going to blend it, you're going to go for a chunky soup, then it might matter more to you.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, Paul, if I didn't have access to my oven, could I still make this soup and just fry off the tomatoes and peppers?
You could, you'd just be missing a few, like, you wouldn't get the flavour.
Right. You
Like
wouldn't,
roasted-
get as deep of a flavour.
Yeah.
And presumably, I'd add my peppers first and my tomatoes later. Peppers at a similar time to this or later on? Or...
I've never tried it, to be honest.
There you go. So if you fancy trying that, let us know how it goes.
But I think I only use 4 sticks of celery here.
There we go. So trimming off the ends of the celery, the roots
Yeah.
and the heads where it's dried out, and then just finely chopped at roughly the same thickness as the onions.
Yeah, just the same. Because you're just going to saute it in butter anyway.
There we go. And once again, if you don't feel safe with a knife, please ask someone to help you.
Exactly. And I was cutting it in 3s. It is much easier and safer to do it in singles. So if you just cut one piece of celery at a time,
Paul is
it's
a trained professional.
much safer.
Aren't you, lad?
I did work in a kitchen for a little while.
He knows what he's doing.
So, yeah.
We're going to stop when the celery sort of goes white. You don't
Yeah.
want that part, that's
No.
the root. You can get rid of that.
And then that all just goes to your other bowl, ready for later.
One bowl for rubbish, one bowl ready to use.
Just don't get them mixed up. Please don't mix it up. It won't taste nice.
There we go.
Yes. So I think I grate the garlic.
You're a fan of grating the garlic.
I do. It's a thing that I've come across recently, and I quite like grating garlic.
I'm a crush and chop kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, everyone's got their own. And this time, any little lumps that you got left over, just throw it in because you're going to blend it anyway at the end of it.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if there's a few little chunks
The
in there.
goal is to break the garlic up.
Yeah, you just want to get the
Release the
maximum
flavour.
amount of flavour from your garlic.
Makes sense.
So I think I went for 4 cloves of garlic here. And obviously if you're making more, just double up.
If you're feeling a bit under the weather and you want an extra boost to your immune system, throw more garlic in.
Yeah.
It won't do you any harm. Just don't go kissing anyone. You might have smelly breath.
It will keep the vampires away though. I can guarantee that.
There we go.
All done.
You're happy on screen.
I
We're
am.
happy. Let's move along.
I was very happy with this recipe.
So we're taking those veggies and we're
Oh, yes.
heading over. So here we are. Tomatoes and peppers by the oven. The oven has been preheated.
Preheated. And as you can see, all the rest of the ingredients that we're going to need are to hand in the background.
First things
I'll
first.
talk you through them.
Tomatoes and peppers going in the oven.
Yes. So they go into the oven, middle shelf. There we go.
And
Put
they're
them
going
in the middle.
in for how long?
Around roughly 30 minutes. Just keep an eye on them. You don't want them to go black.
Right.
That's the key. You don't want them to burn.
Right. So now next we're getting
And
a
you
bit of
want them
butter
to go
ready for our
soft.
pan.
Yeah. It does say it should be around 25 grams of butter. I just eyed it because, I'm quite used to
what's
making
roughly
stuff.
right. Yeah. So once your butter's in the pan, put your pan on a medium to low heat.
Yes, because you just want to saute your garlic, onion, and celery. So you don't want to burn.
You don't want to hear loud bubbling and fizzing and popping.
No.
You want to hear a gentle frying sound.
Yes.
You're just trying to do this slowly.
So I just turn the butter around just to melt it off. As you can
Your
see.
butter should melt and slightly bubble, but not foam and not go brown.
Yes. You don't want to burn any of these ingredients, especially your garlic. It's quite temperamental garlic.
If you have got foam in butter, or if it does sound like it's frying too quickly, just turn the heat down.
Exactly. Just make sure you get all the stuff out the bowl.
And make sure you do this in a big pot, because later we're going to be adding lots more ingredients
Yes.
and making a big bunch of soup.
So you just want to mix it around a little bit, make sure it's all evenly.
And there
And
you
then
go.
just
It's
gently-
all softened up.
Yep.
It's looking ready to rumble.
Exactly.
And what's going to be next? That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering what's going to be next. Here we go. We forgot to do some seasoning beforehand, so that's okay.
So you
We're
just
going to add
wanna
some
season?
now. You could add some as you're chopping or as it's in your bowl before it goes in with the butter.
As you can see, I've switched to the powdered black pepper, the already pre-ground.
We do prefer freshly ground,
Yes, exactly.
but when you've got a rubbish pepper grinder, then pre-ground's okay.
This is chili flakes. You don't have to add chili flakes. I just like to add a little bit of heat.
Or you can add less, or you can add more, depending
Yes.
on what you like as a flavour.
You can add some paprika as well. It enhances the...
Or a touch of cayenne pepper. Might
Yes.
be nice at this stage. There we go. And you can see we're just mixing that around to allow the chili flakes to kind of liven up in the oil and the salt and pepper to incorporate with
Yes.
the vegetables.
So the onions and celery have gone quite soft now.
Yeah, and then you're going to cook off some tomato puree. Puree.
It's important to cook off your tomato puree. So you just want to heat it and mix it round because it'll help it to cook off. And it'll...
What we mean by cook off is tomato puree sometimes can taste a little bit metallic.
Yeah.
Unless it gets some direct heat from the pan. So you've got to make sure that happens. And
Yes.
that's easily achieved at this point by mixing it around and cooking it for a few minutes until it becomes fragrant and smells nice.
You'll just see it mixes in with the onions and
It'll help
celery.
to break it down as well and
Yes.
mix it with all the veg.
and it gives it better flavour.
There we go. So it's an all-round win.
So you want to do this for a couple of seconds, roughly about 30 seconds to a minute, and then I think you're just about ready for your vegetable stock, which should be around 450 ml of vegetable stock.
You can make this beforehand with using a kettle.
Yeah. I think this is 2... Did I use 2 vegetable stock cubes? I think I used 2 stock cubes.
Follow your stock cubes directions on the packet
Yes.
to make 450 ml of stock. You added a bit of extra water because there was
I
some of
did, just to
the
get-
herbs and stuff in the
Yeah.
jug still left. And that's okay. If your soup ends up being a little bit too runny, you can just cook it off for a bit longer.
To be honest with you, this says to use how many? Well, it'd be 450 ml of water with your stock.
There we go. And here we are, those lovely roasted vegetables.
Yep.
We've
See
got
the
a
way the
touch
peppers
of
just
black
drop
in it.
down slightly? That's what you're looking for because they've gone soft.
Yeah. And we want the tomatoes have got that kind of blistered effect around the edges, and the peppers are just starting to colour, but we don't want any more black than that.
No.
And we're just going to add all of these vegetables directly into the soup.
Yep.
And this soup's been on low heat the whole time the vegetables were in.
Exactly. So you can see the tomatoes are quite soft,
And
breaking up. as
Any
they go
juices in the pan, get them straight in there, because that's
Yes.
lots of extra flavour. Any bits of extra oil, get it in there.
Yeah, so just scrape them off gently. Again, if you can't do it yourself, get someone to help.
Make sure you're using an oven glove, because that definitely
Exactly.
will be hot.
Yes, it will. You can see the peppers are lovely and soft. See? And what I tend to do after I've tipped it out is just put a little bit of water on the baking tray, mix it with the metal spatula to scrape off any flavours, and add that back in to your pot.
Just to pick up any nice little cooked on bits.
And as you can see, it's quite thick already. This is why I add a little bit extra water.
So there we go. So we've mixed it around. We've let it keep cooking for how long would you say at this point?
I'd say about half an hour, 40 minutes.
Okay, so we're just letting everything cook together. At this point, you've got your herbs.
Yeah, basil.
You're going to use some lovely basil
Yeah.
just to finish it off.
I think tomato and basil and red pepper, it's a match made in heaven, to be honest.
Goes hand in hand.
It does. So just chop it roughly. It doesn't make a difference because you're going to blend it anyway. I mean, you could add just the leaves in.
You can add a bit, keep a bit to the side to add as a garnish.
Yeah.
If you fancied it.
Absolutely. And you can use some double cream to go on top of it as well once you've
Another
finished.
good garnish, or another nice way of making it a bit more creamy.
Yeah. So we're just about ready to blend it. As you can see, I've got my blender to hand.
We use the stick blender. If you're using a jug blender, you can do that. Make sure you let your soup cool down a little bit and make sure the lid is fully on, because this is very hot soup and it can hurt you.
Just be careful when you're blending it because it can spit back at you.
Yeah.
And it can cause a burn.
So once again, if you don't feel confident or safe doing this, please ask someone to help you.
Yes, please do.
Safety is our number one priority. But anyway, look how lovely it's coming together. The blender's doing a couple of things. It's breaking down those vegetables. It's making everything nice and smooth. It's also emulsifying the fats in the soup. It's helping it to come together and be nice and smooth and rich. And
I knew there was a reason why you was on these videos, and it's a science.
Yeah, food technician. Jack over here.
I just make the food. As long as it tastes nice, I'll make it.
So you just keep blending, keep moving the blender up and down and around the pan until you've got no visible lumps.
You don't want any lumps. Just make sure.
Well, you want it smooth to your taste.
Yeah.
You know? If you're someone who likes a few little chunks, then keep it at that level.
Yes.
If you're someone who wants it completely smooth, you just keep going.
I think this soup works as a smooth soup.
You like it as a smooth soup.
I do.
That's fine. But that's what I'm saying. It's a personal thing.
Yeah, I mean,
your recommendation is to make it nice and smooth, but other people might prefer it a different way.
Absolutely.
There we go. So we've blended it up. We're going to scrape in our herbs.
There we go.
Lovely, lovely. Lovely bit of basil.
Beautiful.
And you could have added basil before you blended if you wanted to.
You could have.
We didn't. We just stirred it in. And here's the glamour shot with the basil leaf and a drizzle of olive oil just to make it look extra pretty.
Beautiful soup.
I've got to tell you, this soup was a big hit in the Ark that day. I don't think there was anyone who didn't love it.
No, Jose was a massive fan.
Jose was a big fan. And thank you very much for joining in Baking with Paul.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure as always.
And as usual, if you have any of your cooking attempts or baking have a goes, then please send us pictures.
Yeah.
Let us know how you're getting on. Let us know if there's something you'd like to see us make.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you next time.